up every day for the past 11 days. But our president, ExxonMobil, says there is nothing to worry about. He wrote, the United States is the largest oil producer in the world by far, so when oil prices go up, we make a lot of money. But of far greater interest and importance to me as president is stopping an evil empire, Iran, from having nuclear weapons. That's right, he's stopping the evil empire. He really is the stupidest president of all time. And
Donald Trump spent the entire 2024 campaign making one promise above everything else. And I mean everything else. Not the border. Not the general economy, not the culture war stuff that fired up crowds. The central beating heart of his entire pitch to the American people was this. He was going to slash your energy prices 50%. He said it with emphasis, standing on stages in front of tens of thousands of people who cheered every single time he said it. He was going to be the man who made gas cheap again. That was the deal. You vote for him. He handles the prices.
We'll cut the price of energy and electricity in half. Ready? 12 months from January 20th, to take office on January 20th, your electric bill, including cars, air conditioners, heating, everything, your total electric bill will be 50% less. We're going to cut it in half. And we have it. We have the power to do it because we have it. We don't need ships. We don't need long train. We have everything. We're going to have to build some pipelines because we can't transport it. But that's easy to do, and that's safer than trains. But we're going to get this done, and you're going to have, within 1 year, think of it, within 1 year, you're going to have electric bills and energy bills, and your gasoline for your car is going to be 50% cheaper than it is right now.
That's a big fast forward to right now with the United States actively at war with Iran, oil tankers getting hit in the Strait of Hormuz, and Brent crude sitting above $100 a barrel. Here is what Kimmel did with that information. And this is why the man has been doing this for over 20 years and is still relevant. He did not spin it, dress it up, or try to editorialize.
he says when oil prices go up, we make a lot of money. Maybe you and your buddies do, but we don't make a lot of money. We just pay more for gas when oil prices go up. He must think we're as dumb as he is. The man who campaigned on the promise he would get gas prices under $2 a gallon is now trying to convince us that higher prices are better. You know, you hear the term gaslighting a lot, but rarely when it comes to actual gas. This is a gem, and it couldn't have come at a worse time. According to a new survey, a third of Americans say they are skipping meals or cutting back on utilities like heat to pay the rising cost of their health care premiums, which makes me wonder what happened to that health care plan Trump announced 2 months ago. Remember the great health care plan he announced? That disappeared right along with our invasion of Greenland. They just went away. And with all this going on, with all these problems, all this instability, war, inflation, Epstein, you name it, you can see that for Trump, worrying about this is starting to take a toll.
He showed you the promise. He showed you the numbers at the pump right now. And then he looked at the camera and said, essentially, this is a man telling the American people that gas prices are going down while those exact same people are actively filling up their tanks at prices higher than before he took office. That is not a bad prediction. That is not a miscalculation. That did not pan out. That is a straight-faced lie being delivered directly to the people who are living the opposite of it in real time. And then Kimmel said the line that has been rattling around the internet ever since. He said Trump thinks we are as dumb as he is because a believable lie at least tries to hold up against a 5-second search. What Trump is banking on is that enough people will hear the claim, not along, and never once think to verify it. He is not trying to convince anyone who is paying attention. He is just counting on enough people not to pay attention. And Kimmel is done letting that fly quietly.
We went artificially up because of this excursion into a very positive thing. I mean, this was an excursion that a lot of people wouldn't have done. I knew oil prices would go up if I did this, and they've gone up probably less than I thought they'd go up.
Now, here is where it gets genuinely rich, because the very day Kimmel was running that monologue, Trump held a press conference. And at that press conference, a reporter asked him directly about the oil prices. And Trump, I need you to actually hear this, looked straight into the cameras and said he knew oil prices would go up when he launched a military operation. He knew. He just thought they would go up less than he expected. And then he called the entire Iran conflict an excursion. Just a casual little excursion. a side trip, a quick pop-in on a country of 90 million people. So let us recap, because this is important. That is not spin trying to be spin. That is a man changing his story on live television and expecting nobody to notice the distance between what he said 8 months ago and what he is saying right now. And the word excursion sitting right there in the middle of that sentence is doing a lot of work we are going to come back to in a moment.
The United States military began major combat operations in Iran.
He's a peacemonger, not a warmonger.
It's up to the Iraqi people, the Iranian people, to choose their next leader.
There's a lot of confusion about President Trump's peacekeeping bombing campaign in the Middle East.
But let's step away from Kimmel for a second, because Desi Lydic on The Daily Show has been doing something a little different. And honestly, in some ways, it is even more effective, because while Kimmel goes after the lies directly, Lydic goes after the language, specifically the very deliberate, very carefully chosen language that the White House and Fox News have been using to describe what is happening in Iran without ever quite saying what it is. Said it slowly, let it sit, and then added with the straightest face on television. But the administration wants you to know that this is absolutely 100% officially not a war. Major combat operations, not a war. Just two concepts sharing the same zip code. And the pause she takes between those two ideas is doing more work than a 10-minute debate could, because she is giving you exactly enough room to sit with the absurdity of it before she moves on.
That often happens in war.
I don't know if this is technically a war.
Strategic strikes are not war.
Nobody should classify this as war. It is combat operations.
This is not war. It's a dairy-free, war-like alternative. We are at not war with not Iraq. How can I make this clearer? Frankly, it doesn't matter what you call it, because the president has a very...
And if the White House's language was strained, the Fox News version of events was a full-contact gymnastics routine. What Lit showed her audience after sitting through what she described as 316 straight hours of Fox News coverage was a procession of hosts trying to describe an active bombing campaign in a foreign country, using every possible arrangement of words in the English language except the one that fits: strategic strikes. Lydic sat there with the expression of someone who has just been handed a menu that lists every possible ingredient except food. Everyone in the room knows what is on the plate. Everyone writing the menu knows what they're describing. But if you can get enough people comfortable with the alternate vocabulary, apparently the rules of reality bend slightly in your direction.
Could be 9, it could be 6-7, it could be 8-6-7-5-3-0-9. The point is, it's not going to be a forever war. No one is saying that.
Trump's saying today, wars can be fought forever.
Yes, wars can be fought forever. I mean, isn't it refreshing to hear a man make that kind of commitment in 2024?
And then just when you think the Fox News coverage of this cannot find a new gear, one of their hosts went on air and quoted Trump where he said, "Wars can be fought forever." Said like a perfectly reasonable, totally reassuring thing to say to people at home whose family members are in the military. Lydic turned to the audience and said, completely composed, zero-raised voice, "Isn't it refreshing to hear a man make that kind of commitment in 2026? The joke is perfect." And Lydic in one response put a spotlight on exactly how far the goalposts have moved. The same network that spent years insisting that any foreign military engagement was a hallmark of a weak president is now calmly telling its audience that indefinite war is fine. Actually, as long as the right person is in charge.
Donald Trump promised no new wars, and this one doesn't count because, as we all know, it started in 1979. Look, Donald the Peace President Trump wouldn't get us into not war for no reason. It was based on very hard, conclusive evidence.
It was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack.
But the argument that Lydic saved for final stretch, the one that is almost too much to fully process, was a Fox News claim that this war does not even count as a new war. Because the argument goes, Iran has technically been at war with the United States since 1979. So Trump promised no new wars, and this is not a new war, because the old war apparently never ended, which means it is fine, which means everyone can relax, which means stop asking questions. Real argument, real television. Lydic walked through it step by step, and did not once raise her voice. She just laid out piece by piece and then looked at the camera and said, Donald Peace President Trump wouldn't get us into a not war for no reason. She called him the Peace President with a perfectly straight face. In the middle of a segment about an active military bombing campaign in Iran,
FIFA Peace Prize winning POTUS said yesterday that even though we are still bombing Iran, their soccer team is welcome to come to the United States for the World Cup this summer. And then when Iran's Minister of Sports suggested they might not be keen to do that, he tweaked the invitation. He wrote, "The Iran national soccer team is welcome to the World Cup, but I really don't believe it is appropriate that they be there for their own life and safety. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump." Well, I'm glad he's looking out for them. That's nice.
Now, While all of this is going on, Trump found a moment to weigh in on a completely different Iran-related subject, the soccer team. No, really. With the United States actively at war with Iran, Brent crude pushing past $100 a barrel, and the Pentagon issuing briefings in which nobody is allowed to say the word war, Trump went on Truth Social and posted about the Iranian national soccer team in the 2026 World Cup. And the post, and I genuinely need you to read this slowly, said, "The Iranian team is welcome to compete in the tournament." Kim will read that post out loud and just let the audience sit with it for a second, because that is not a nuanced foreign policy position. That is a man who decided to weigh in on the World Cup in the middle of an act of war and managed to contradict himself inside a single truth. Social post.
Also want to know what they're sending their men and women to war for. Is there a concern of this spiraling into a longer war? And then one for the chairman when you're done.
Did you not hear my remarks? I mean, we're ensuring the mission gets accomplished, but we are very clear-eyed, as the president has been, unlike other presidents, about the foolish policies of the past that recklessly pulled us in to things that were not tethered to actual clear objectives. So we know. We have plans, we have generals, we have chairmen, we have commanders, CENTCOM commanders, Admiral Cooper, who's executing very deliberately to ensure outcomes that I laid out are accomplished.
But if Trump's soccer post was confusing, what Pete Heist did at his own Pentagon press briefing was something else entirely. And Kimmel gave it everything it deserved. Here's the setup. Heggs did not just hold a press conference. He held a press conference with a pre-selected list of reporters in assigned seats with a list of approved questioners that he personally controlled. He chose who got to ask questions. He decided who was in the room. He essentially staged his own friendly audience. And then, even with all of that, he still snapped. Then launched into a full rant about how revealing military objectives is foolishness. In a room full of journalists he personally invited in seats he personally assigned with questioner lists he personally approved and still could not hold it together for the full hour.
Seth is doubling down on his crusade against a free press. The Pentagon has reportedly banned some photographers from press briefings about the war because they released photos that either Hegseth or his staff did not like. They released unflattering photos of him, and so they're not allowed back. Who would have ever guessed the guy who spent thousands of taxpayer dollars on a makeup studio might be a little bit self-absorbed? Turns out our phony tough guy, our Secretary of War, is a sensitive little snowflake making a safe space for his beautiful face.
I like that he thinks it's the photos that are making him look bad.
I mean, who could possibly take an unflattering photograph of this, you know? It's give him two horns and a steering wheel, he's Bowser in Mario Kart.
And this right here is the part Kimmel clearly could not wait to get to, because it turns out that in addition to snapping at journalists in carefully curated briefings, Pete Hex also moved to ban unflattering photographs of himself from official coverage. The man who built his entire public identity on mocking the left for being soft, fragile, too sensitive, too emotional, too easily offended. The man who spent years on Fox News telling anyone who would listen that liberals needed to toughen up, grow a spine, stop making safe spaces. That exact man banned photos of himself because he did not like how he looked in them. And Kimmel delivered the line perfectly. The audience absolutely lost it. And the thing is, it is not just a great joke. It is a complete and total dismantling of the entire brand. Hegseth's whole political identity was built on the premise that he is the tough guy and everyone else is fragile. And now he is banning cameras, snapping at pre-approved journalists, and throwing a fit in a room he personally stacked in his own favor. Kimmel did not have to exaggerate a single thing. You just had to read the news out loud.